Miyamoto Musashi, once known as Shinmen Takezo. Shinmen Takezo, a young samurai, tried to make a name for himself in the chaotic battles of the Sengoku period. But his fate changed with the defeat of his clan in the Battle of Sekigahara. Now, he was a ronin, a warrior without a master. Enemy clans raided his village and took his sister hostage to capture him. Driven by revenge and the desire to save his sister, Shinmen single-handedly raided the samurai camp. He struck down everyone in his path. He saved his sister, but this act of violence caused his village to turn their backs on him. He was now an outsider.
In this loneliness, he was tricked and captured by a Buddhist monk. The monk saw the rage and chaos within the young warrior and imprisoned him in a temple for 7 years. During this time, Shinmen embraced books rather than his sword. He read Sun Tzu's The Art of War and other strategy texts, and disciplined his spirit through meditation. He underwent a great change here. 7 years later, he was not only a powerful warrior but also an enlightened sage. He changed his name and set out as Miyamoto Musashi.
Musashi traveled throughout Japan, challenging swordmasters. His two-sword technique, Nitten Ichi-ryu, set him apart from other warriors. Musashi preferred to teach his opponents a lesson by defeating them, not killing them.
But another name was rising just as fast, Kojiro Sasaki. Kojiro was a ruthless and arrogant young master. He defeated everyone with his sword, either killing or crippling his defeated opponents. Ganrujima Island. Kojiro, who showed no mercy even to his students, aimed to become Japan's greatest swordsman and serve as an honored swordsman in the royal court. The paths of the two great masters finally crossed to claim the title of Japan's best warrior. Sasaki Kojiro was one of the most famous samurai before Japan's Edo period and is known as Miyamoto Musashi's greatest rival. Kojiro was famous for his legendary sword technique called Tsubame Gaishi, Swallow Return. This technique required incredible speed and deadly accuracy. It was almost impossible for his opponents to escape this attack. However, Kojiro was known not only for his skill but also for his ruthlessness. He showed no mercy to his opponents, either crippling or killing them. His sword was a long nodachi, large Japanese sword, called monohoshizao. This weapon gave him a greater advantage due to its length, and Kojiro cruelly used this advantage against his opponents. Ganrujima Island. When Musashi boarded the boat to go to the duel site, he noticed a broken oar. He asked the boatman for it and skillfully carved it with his small knife, creating a perfect wooden sword. But instead of going directly to the duel site, Musashi deliberately chose to be late. Kojiro had arrived on the island early in the morning and started waiting. As time passed, he grew angrier, his rage increasing as he thought Musashi might be too afraid to show up. When the sun rose high and his impatience reached its peak, a boat finally appeared on the horizon. Musashi calmly walked ashore as if he were completely at ease. He looked a little disheveled, as if he didn't care much about the duel. This indifferent attitude further angered the already tense Kojiro. With the morning sun at his back, he stood before Kojiro. Kojiro waited, ready with his large, sharp sword. But instead of drawing his usual two swords, Musashi drew only his wooden sword. Kojiro's face changed upon seeing this, because a wooden sword was only used for training with students. This was an insult to him. Enraged, Kojiro lost control and attacked suddenly. This was the exact moment Musashi was waiting for. As Kojiro's heavy sword rose in the air, Musashi swiftly moved with his light but sturdy wooden sword. The sword struck Kojiro's head with a powerful blow, almost splitting his skull in two. Musashi pulled back his sword and waited for Kojiro to fall. As his opponent collapsed to the ground bleeding, Musashi looked at him one last time and smiled. Then, without looking back, he boarded the boat, rowed away, and left the island. He defeated him with a wooden sword. This victory proved that strategy is superior to strength. He was declared Japan's greatest swordsman, but he refused to serve the king. Instead, he retreated into seclusion. There, he compiled years of wisdom and the art of war into a book called The Book of Five Rings, Go-Rin no Sho. This book guided not only swordmasters but anyone seeking mastery in strategy, leadership, and philosophy. Even today, military leaders and executives continue to read this work to understand Musashi's profound strategies. Musashi's story is the epic tale of transformation from a warrior to a sage,